channel. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be filming my labor and delivery story, so stay tuned for that. First things first, please like and subscribe. Second thing, my name is Kelsey, and I gave birth to a beautiful little girl named Allison with my wonderful fiance, Colton. He does not like to be in videos or anything like that, so most of the time you'll just be seeing me. So let's just get into the story. I was 40 weeks and 2 days pregnant whenever I went into labor. It all happened around midnight whenever I knew I was in labor, but I did feel pains at 10 o'clock. I didn't think they were contractions because I have been doing a whole lot of stuff that day, because I was told that if you do a project to get stuff done, then you will go into labor anytime soon, and I was determined to get her out. So about midnight I woke up so that way I could go pee. I was hurting a little bit, and whenever I peed, it hurt even worse, and I was like, maybe I'm in labor, but the pains aren't that bad. So I decided to lay back down, and I told myself if the pains get worse, they should wake me up, or, I won't be able to go back to sleep. And the second thing happened. I could not go back to sleep. For one, my nerves were shot, and two, the pain was starting to get unbearable really quick. So I roll over, and I shake Colton's shoulder, and I'm like, I think we're going to have a Valentine's baby. It was about 12:30 when I did that in the morning, and he rolls over and looks at me like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I'm hurting pretty bad. So I asked him to call his Nana because his car was broke down, and there was no way we were going to be able to get my car over there because it's a standard, and we didn't have a car seat or anything. So his Nana had us covered. So he calls her at about 1, and I was telling her, I've been timing my contractions, and they've been about 5 minutes apart, but they're not feeling regular. I mean, they would be between 5 to 10 minutes apart, and I thought they would be like on the dot, but they weren't. So just in case you think they're on the dot, they're not. Like, I was just trying to push it off, thinking, this is false labor. I was scared of that, but it wasn't. So she finally makes it over at about 1:30, and we load up in her car, and I ask if I should go ahead and bring our stuff, and they're like, no, you can just go ahead and leave that here. You're probably just having false contractions. And, I felt bad because it was 1 in the morning, and I was waking everybody up. So we get to the hospital, and I'm hardly able to walk in. It hurts so bad. But we make it to labor and delivery, and I sign all the paperwork, and I lay down, and they check my cervix, and I was dilated at a 4. And before that, at my 40-week checkup, the doctor checked my cervix, and he said I was dilated at a 1, and my cervix was really ripe. And, that was just a couple of days ago, because I was 40 plus 2 weeks. And, they were telling me that, my contractions are irregular, but my cervix is dilating, so it could possibly be true labor. So they hooked me up to the monitors, and they wanted to make sure that everything was looking good and okay, and seeing if my labor would progress any. And it did. They came back, and they told me that they were admitting me. So Kathy, Colton's Nana, and Colton went back to the house, and they picked up all of the stuff that I had already packed like a week prior, and I told them that might be too much information, but I had to poop. I really felt like I needed to go really bad. And the nurse was kind of scared because she says usually whenever you feel like you need to go poop is whenever you need to push the baby out instead. And I was scared because I've been begging for an epidural, but she told me that she can let me go for about 5 minutes, but she could not let me stay in the bathroom any longer than that. So she unhooked me from the machines and let me go. Of course, nothing happened, and when I wiped, there was blood all over the toilet paper. I was terrified, and so I pull my emergency light, and the nurse comes in, And she said, oh, that's normal. It means you're dilating more. Let's get you back in the bed, and I'm going to check your cervix again. And believe it or not, I was dilated at a 6, and that was only within a hour time frame. So whenever Colton and Kathy came back, my mom shows up, and she was just, I called her. She lived 45 minutes away, and I told her, I said, you probably might want to wait a little bit because it might be false labor, but she was like, no, don't worry about it, I'm on my way. So anyway, my mom shows up, Kathy and Colton show back up, and then my sister shows up, and everybody's standing in there trying to talk to me, ask me how I'm feeling, and I did not want to have any part of that. I was just grabbing onto my handrail, and I was like, please, just don't let me talk, please stop talking, I don't want there to be any noise in here. The only thing we had on in there was the TV, and I probably didn't even want that on. I just had him turn it down. And finally, after a long time waiting, the anesthesiologist comes in for my epidural, and I was so relieved because I was terrified that I would not get my epidural in time. But I was still dilated at a 6 whenever he came in to put the epidural in. And I'm telling you, them contractions are like nothing I felt before. Like, I've had a lot of pain in the past, but this was something else. Anyway, after my epidural, I laid back down, and it made me really itchy. They say it's a side effect, so they gave me a little bit of Benadryl, which made me sleepy. So I decided I wanted to get some sleep, which I couldn't, but I got some good rest for a little while people were out in the waiting room waiting on me. And they come back, and they say that my epidural slowed down my contractions, so they told me that they were going to wait until about after 7:30 at least to put me on Pitocin, because my doctor was in, but he had C-sections he needed to do at 7:30. So they decided to wait to speed things up until after his C-sections are over. So at about 9, they come back in and they start my Pitocin. I was still dilated at a 6. And about 9:30, they check me, and I was fully dilated. But she was still higher up in my pelvis than they wanted her to be. So they decided to have me go ahead and push. And I pushed once, and they were like, oh, here she comes. So they called the doctor, and he rushes over there, and then it was about 9:50 whenever he sits down in front of me with his table, and he's scrubbed up, got the paper down and everything. He tells me to push, and I push. And he turns around to get a pair of scissors, because I guess he was going to give me a episiotomy. And I told him whenever he was turning around, I said, I feel like I got to push again, like right now, I need to go. And they were like, okay, go ahead. And I push again, and she was here. Like 10 minutes of pushing, and she arrived. She was not waiting any longer. She was ready to be here. And since the doctor couldn't cut me, I tore. And I tore it in 3 different places, but I did not care. I did not even notice it happened because I had my precious baby laying on my belly, and she was crying, and I was so happy she was okay, and just hearing her cry for the first time just warmed my heart, and I was just so relieved that she was finally here. And they weighed her, and she weighed 7 pounds and 15 ounces, and she was 19 and a half inches long. She's a beautiful baby girl. Her name is Allison Grace Mooney, and I am so excited that I'm able to share my story with you. Now let me show you my baby girl. This is her. She is 2 months old, and she is the most wonderful thing that has ever happened to me. And I thank you guys for watching my story. Please like and subscribe and comment if you have any questions, or if you have a request for any other videos you want me to do in the future. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.